I call this regular meeting of the Sturgis City Council for Monday, May 4th, 2026. We'll start out with the Bill, if you'd come up and do the prayer for us tonight.
Let us pray. Father, we are so thankful for the moisture that you've given us over the past few weeks, and we just ask, though, continue to ask for more moisture for this country, as all of our economy is based upon our agriculture and tourism. And Father, I pray now as we go into this meeting tonight, that your spirit of wisdom and peace reign during this time, and the decisions that are made are good decisions to take Sturgis forward into the future on a strong economic base. And we ask all of this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Hear, hear. Thank you, Bill. Number 3, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
I got a first by Alex, a second by Jim. All them in favor of the motion say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. We have an agenda. Number 4, announcements and praise. Jim, you taking these tonight?
I got a bunch of them. Wait for the audience for later. Starting today and going through Friday is the Sturgis Spring Citywide Cleanup on your whatever your garbage day is. Go to the city's website to find out more about it. Tuesday, May 5th, that's tomorrow, Sturgis Planning Commission meets at 5:30 at the City Hall Council Chambers. Wednesday, this is interesting, the next 3 Wednesdays for forums. May 6th is the election forum for the District 29 Legislative Forum, and that'll be at the Meade County Erskine Building in Sturgis at 5:30 until 8. Note that starts a little earlier. And then the next Wednesday, the 13th, will be the election for the City of Sturgis Mayor and Ward 1 City Council. That'll also be at the Meade County Erskine Building in Sturgis. Also on Wednesday will be Sturgis High School Baccalaureate at 6:30. That's at the Community Center. Friday the 15th until Sunday the 17th, the Copa de Sturgis Soccer Tournament. Sunday the 17th, Sturgis Brown High School graduation. And by the way, that we don't have it on here, but the 20th, Wednesday the 20th, will be another forum that'll be for the county commission. And that's what I have, Mayor.
Okay. Anybody else on council have announcements and praise?
Is that county commissioner or is that school board?
Let me say again, that's the school board. It isn't written down, so I,
What do you mean?
going back to my old radio days, I have to have it in front of me in black and white.
Anybody else on council have announcements and praise? None being seen. Anybody in the public? None being seen. We'll move on to number 5, non-agenda matters that may come before the council. Does council have any tonight?
Mayor, I'd like to thank the folks that put on the work session that we had for several of the council members regarding the rally and the rally history of that, and San and Brenda and anybody else that was there. It was a great session and certainly information for a lot of us that were there. Mm-hmm. You took voluminous notes, so I'm counting on you to any questions I have. So. But anyway, thank you. I don't think either. I don't see either one of them here, but it took a long time. We were in session for a long time.
Yes. All righty. Anybody else on council? Anybody in the public? All right, none being seen, we'll move on to number 6, department updates. And today is cash balances, and this will be Ann will take care of this one.
Good evening, Mayor, Pro Tempore, and Council. As you can see by the information you received in your packet, the city has experienced a significant increase in cash balances over the past 3 years. In its checking and savings accounts at First Interstate Bank for the periods ending April 30th. In April of 23, we had $223,691. 24, $683,381. Then we took a great big jump from last year. At the end of April, we had 4.8 million, and this year we are at 7.6 million. And then our overall cash value is 9.1 million. And if you look at the pie chart, you can see how that breaks down. Do you have that pie chart? Is it up there? The increase in the the city's cash position is primarily the result of the fiscal management actions implemented beginning in mid-2024. These actions include reductions in personnel-related expenditures, deferral of capital improvement projects, and delaying or timing other budgeted expenses. The most notable growth has occurred within the capital improvements fund, which is supported by the dedicated 0.9% sales tax allocation. This fund currently $1 million, reflecting both strong revenue performance and constrained expenditures over the past year. This strengthened cash position provides the city with increased financial flexibility moving forward, including the ability to address future capital needs, manage economic variability, and evaluate strategic investment opportunities. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Ann from council?
The ATM money, when is that going back to? Is that back to 23 or is that for this year?
Oh, the ATM, it goes. That's right now. It's, yeah, that up there is right now.
For 4 months of the year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It's what's in the machines and what's been put in the machines for the year is what it is.
Okay.
So we've filled the liquor a couple times and community center a couple times.
Any other questions from council for Ann on this? Anybody in the public? Alrighty, moving on to number 8, consider the consent agenda. We have some payroll items, some SELs, some use of city property on here. We will take them all as one, 8-1 through 8-19, unless anybody in council or the public wants to pull an item. Anybody on council want to pull an item? No? Anybody in the public? Come on up, Bonnie.
Bonnie Albert Sturgis. I'd just like to know a little bit more about, I think it's 8.3 and 8.4, particularly 8.4.
Okay. Aaron or Carrie want to take that? We'll remove 8.3 and 8.4. So can I get a motion, sorry about that, can I get a motion to accept the rest of them other than 8.3 and 8.4?
I'll second.
First by Jim, a second by Ruth. All those in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Say yes. All those opposed, no? All righty, we will discuss 8.3 then.
Okay, I'll be backed up by my good friend Carrie, but I'll take the lead on this, Carrie, and feel free to expound any more that you need to be expounded on. On 8.3, this is the hiring of Casey Baldwin. The planning and permitting director has been empty, vacant since Dave Smith retired, I think on January 1st of last year. We've opened it up multiple times. It was the third time that it's been open in that time frame. The first two iterations, we only got a one person that really applied for it the first time that was also applying for HR position and was not qualified, didn't have a background in project management or anything dealing with that kind of a job. The second time, we did have some candidates. One candidate, if I remember, Carrie, was through Indeed. We did reach out to that person. They did have some extensive knowledge, but when we reached out to that person, they never responded. So a lot of times, sometimes when you use Indeed, people are just throwing stuff out there, like a large net trying to catch something. And again, when we followed up with that individual on the point of contacts that they had, we didn't get anything back. We had one person that did not put in that we reached out to that we thought was had some qualifications and the experience to really do that position. I met with that person a couple times, along with some of our other teammates, and that person just decided that's just not what they wanted to do at that particular time. They liked the employment they had, even though they had some pretty good experience and probably would have done a great job in that. We didn't get anything else on the second go around. We opened it up again here a few months ago, and we only had 2 applicants that put in for the position. We interviewed both those applicants here a couple weeks ago. That consisted of myself, Rick Bush, Eric Davis, and we had Jana Watson too, with her experience of doing that job or being in planning for 30 years. Both candidates did a really good job. They both had some similar experiences, but I would say either one of them were probably, I'd say, qualified to jump into that job right now. Both of them had some project experience, had been exposed to it from an early age. You know, some of that was family business and working with their families and construction and working with zoning. The one that we end up selecting is a person that works out of Rapid City. She's been in the same job there for just over a decade, manages projects over a large region, a lot of different projects. Again, a lot of extensive experience in construction. Her specialty over the last couple of years has been more in fire expression, fire suppression. And so when she's managing these projects and they're building buildings or remodeling buildings, they have to have these types of things within their plan. So she has to read the plans, make sure that they're doing it in there, understand what the codes are for those different locations where they're going to be putting those things into play. Very well-spoken, pretty aggressive, you know, a person that was looking for a new challenge. And so there was all 4 of us that did the interview all felt really good about this selection to bring her in. Again, it's been vacant for a long time. We put a lot of pressure on the Public Works, specifically Rick Bush, our Public Works Director. He's been filling the void a lot over the last, since January. We've had some assistance with Jana Watson helping out with a couple of our unique projects we've been working on, and obviously Eric has a lot of experience and this has been helping out too. But 90% of the workload has been on Rick's shoulders. Rick used to be our community what was it called, Rick, back in the day? Community development. Basically the same thing what now we call the planning director position. He did that. I think he came into the city of Sturgis back in 2009, and he did that for a couple of years before he became the Public Works Director. So he has some experience on that, and obviously he's been building on that experience over the last 16, 17 months. So since we didn't really get somebody that we thought was fully qualified, but we felt they had all the attributes and had a really good, strong foundation, that we would bring that person in, and over a period of time, that person would work also getting support by Jana Watson on preparing that person to be a solid planning and permitting director at some point in the future. So we brought her on as a lower graded level, more kind of like in a deputy level, and she starts on the 18th of May, and feel really good about getting that position filled and providing some support, in that particular area where we have been vacant for a long time. Again, Rick's been kind of covering down on that, and he'll kind of take Casey under his wing and continue to help develop her, train her, kind of get her prepared for be able to do that job here at some time in the near future. So that's that position. Casey Baldwin lives here in town, been commuting down to Rapid City for a long time, married into a family here. So yeah, I feel pretty good about that. It's one of those positions that we've been trying to fill for such a long time, and we were starting to lose hope that it's a good job, it's a fun job, it pays pretty well, and but as I understand, other municipalities, other government entities have been having a difficult time filling that position. And so we felt that when we found somebody, if we can't find somebody who's completely qualified, we found somebody we felt pretty strong about, that had strong attributes and the foundation to be able to do that job, that we'd bring them in and kind of teach them, train them, and at some point here, turn them over. So that's 8.3.
Okay. Bonnie's, that answer your question? Okay. Move on. All right, move on to 8.4. Carrie, you want to take care of that one?
Sure.
Well, I can talk to that, but do you want to do, or you're just going to do them? Okay. Well, the 8.4, again, this is basically a stipend to Public Works Director Rick Bush. Again, we've been putting a lot of pressure on him for a long time. You know, Mayor Forrester used to tell him, "Hey, Rick, just be patient. You know, we're gonna get this filled. We'll take care of it." And we just haven't been able to get it filled for a long, long time. And the fact that we're bringing somebody in that's not fully qualified but has the attributes, we felt it was important to keep Rick in the role as the planning and permitting director, with the responsibility of training Casey up along with Jana Watson to be able to assume that role at some point in the future. But we also felt that he's been, you know, again, he's right now he's carrying 2 directorate load level positions, and he will be doing that probably through the rest of this year. And he's been doing it since the beginning of last year. So just felt that, again, based on talking with some of you in legal and finance, that this was probably the appropriate thing to do for Director Rick Bush.
Thank you. That answer your questions, Bonnie? Okay,
Yeah, I just thought it needed to be
Yep.
said out loud, credit where credit is due.
okay, thank you. Well, do I have a motion to approve 8.3 and 8.4 on the,
I'll move to approve.
Oh, second.
okay, I got a first by Nick, second by Mark. All those in favor of the motions, say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Moving on to 9, approval of the claims. Total claims this time around is $545,064.87. Anybody on council have any questions on the claims? Anybody in the public? None being seen, can I get a motion to approve the claims?
Second.
I got a first by Jim, second by Alex. All those in favor of the motion, yes?
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Moving on to number 10, public hearings. This is the consideration to approve the renewal of retail on-off sale malt beverage and wine licenses for 2026, 27, and Robin will take the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this public hearing is to consider the renewal of all of our annual malt beverage licenses for the 26-27 year. These will renew on July 1st and go through June 30th of 2027. This year we have 47 renewals. They all renewed this year. I have done all the work that goes into that. They have been published. They were published on the 24th of April to prepare for tonight's public hearing. I have collected all of the fees. So we split this with the state. The city collects $150 for each license. The state collects $150 for each license. We have also collected the video lottery for each one of those. So we collect $50 for each license or each video lottery machine. So we collected an additional $4,350 for each one of their video lottery machines. So I do have attached to that we do have to make sure that we collect all of their make sure all their property taxes are paid current. I do have 5 that I checked as of right before the meeting. I checked. I have 5 that are not paid as of yet, and that could just be a lull at the treasurer's office. So I will verify those before I send this off. But other than that, it looks like everything is good to go. I just need your approval to approve all these.
Okay.
Unless you have any questions for me.
Anybody on council have questions?
Yeah, like the property taxes aren't paid, you'll just keep them off that list then?
I'll probably
we
call the treasurer's office in the morning to double check. I'm assuming it's probably, like I said, they probably just haven't processed them yet down at the treasurer's office.
So if we move on these, we're okay with those 5, or how do we do that?
We'll just put it in the motion that,
Okay.
Yeah, I do have, that they're contingent on the fact that the property taxes have to be paid. So I will verify that, because they do take them, you know, per down at the treasurer's office. They'll take the postmarks on them, so they just could be behind maybe processing down there.
I would
But
assume that's the case.
and I will call to verify in these 5 that I don't have. So, but all the others were paid.
Would this be the time to bring up the number 21? The contingency on 21?
Sure.
Tia, do you want to come up and visit about that one? Or how do you, you're going to have a building that's going to be contingent upon a building down there, right? Or how's that going to work?
Well, yeah, Eric, could you maybe expound on what the criteria is for a malt beverage license?
So as Robin mentioned, these are state licenses that are issued through the city. The legislature gives, or the State Department of Revenue and the legislature gives the city council the ability to essentially look at 2 different considerations when it approves these licenses. One is the suitability of the licensee, certain statutory requirements on not being convicted of a felony and otherwise. I don't recall off the top of my head exactly what the statutory language is, but a person of good moral character to hold one of these licenses. So that's the first issue. The second issue is the suitability of the premises. And this kind of thing usually looks at, it can look at a lot of things in the council's determination of, is the proposed license premises being located in an area that is suitable with the community, any potential conflicts with other incompatible uses, things like that. And then, of course, there is always the consideration of the licensed premises. It is a city ordinance requirement in Sturgis ordinance that for a permanent malt beverage, and I'm sorry, Robin, they call these a malt beverage and on-sale wine license, is that right? Required to have a permanent structure of 1,200 square feet. To my knowledge, that is a city ordinance requirement, not a state law requirement. And so that does factor into the suitability of the proposed location. And I think I'm not fully read in on this particular issue, but my understanding of it is that there's a question of whether the permanent structure will be complete by the time operations are proposed, which is for the rally. So what would go with all of these licenses? There's kind of 2 separate issues. So the one that the council's mainly looking at is it a suitable licensee? Is it a suitable premises? But, the question of whether it's a suitable premises can be that issue of, is it located next to unsuitable adjacent uses or things like that. But it could also be the building. But there is this separate issue of the certificate of occupancy with the building code. So, once you have a malt beverage license or an on-sale liquor license, it is not a license just to sell no matter what. You still have to have a building that is compliant with the code and a lot of other requirements. So you can hold this license and still not be able to sell malt beverages, in the idea that you wouldn't have a certificate of occupancy. So imagine a restaurant or a bar that has a license and has had a license for a really long time, and a fire comes in and destroys part of the building, making that building uninhabitable. Obviously, the licensee would not be able to have a certificate of occupancy for that building until the building code issues were remedied. So that's always operating in the background, but the council's 2 considerations on these licensees is it a suitable location? Is it a suitable licensee?
Well, and I don't think that's the issue. I think to me, the issue is if we can grant that license to the Freedom LLC, but if that building is not up, they can't, until a certificate of occupancy is awarded, whatever the word is, they can't sell beer. It
That
would be
would-
contingent upon that.
That would be my understanding, and it wouldn't just be for this particular licensee, it would be
It'd
for
be
all
of them,
licensees.
But that one falls under all the rest of them. The storage containers are not gonna work for the rally, I guess is my thoughts on that, but
Well, we did meet with Tia and her designer last week, both myself and Rick brought a few other people in. We had our building inspector. We also have another person who provides consulting services on planning, that type of stuff, that evaluated the plans. So we had a pretty productive meeting. They were making some adjustments to their plan to be able to accommodate for all this, some of the things that came up in our review. And again, we had people review also from the engineering side of it. I'd probably ask Rick to probably expound more on that if you have more questions. but it looks like right now we're moving in a direction. Last conversation I had with Tia, it was that they were looking having that building built by, that 1 August timeframe. There is a couple options in terms of getting a occupancy, what's the right term again? Certificate for occupancy, because you could phase this project in a couple of phases, and one phase would get the minimum requirements that would still meet at that. The key thing for them is just working through some of the, based on the upper structures and some of those kind of stuff that might, but again, right now, from what Tia is telling us, based on having a builder already identified who've already said that they can have that done by that particular time, at least at this point, I feel like we're moving in the right direction. But it still goes back to what Eric was talking about. Even if you get a malt beverage license, you're not able to actually execute that license until you get that certificate of occupancy. And I don't know, Rick, if you want to say anything, or Tia, if you want to make any comments. But right now, I think we're moving in that direction, and I know Tia has been working a lot with Rick, and we've been working with that designer. So, again, I felt when we left that last meeting, we were moving in the right direction on trying to accommodate that.
Hi, Mark. Tia Hartwell. Hi, Council.
Are you gonna get your building built?
I'm sorry?
Are you gonna get your building built?
100%. I have invested $50,000 for my engineer and architect.
Okay.
I got delayed 2 months. I won't mention the other company's name, but it took me 2 months. No answer, no nothing, so I had to go with a different engineer.
Okay.
That's why I'm behind. I don't know. I guess my question is, I'm proving everything to you and to everybody that I am doing what I can possibly do. I'm relying on other people to do this, and I think everybody is doing what they're supposed to do. It's, I think that for sure the building will be built before Raleigh. 100%.
Okay.
That phase, because I want to do a lot more later on.
Back to the minimum requirement like you talked about? Is that, or is that just a phase? That's probably not the right question.
Well,
So,
and Rick, I'm going to need your help on this, but as I understand it, is that, to get to the complete plan that she wants, it could potentially be done by the 1st of August.
Well, the one that we submitted will be done by August.
Right. Rick, I'm going to turn it over to you. You're the expert on this.
Sure. So, we're going through the final plan review. Plans were submitted. We reviewed. They made some changes, submitted the plans again. We reviewed, made some more comments, and I think we're down to the final review. And once that's completed and Tia moves forward with the building portion of it, I mean, I wouldn't say it meets the minimum. I think it meets the code, the International Building Code, all the requirements we have as far as the floodplain, all of the occupancy. Should it get built in a manner that was presented in the plans, I mean, there won't be any issue with it. It'll be no different than any other new building down on Main Street or anywhere else in the city. Won't be able to issue the certificate of occupancy. We've got a little over 3 months, so at this point, it's still a doable project. Should we end up getting closer to the rally and we only don't have everything completed, then I think we'll look at trying to do a phase part, because with this plan, there's an initial ground level portion, and then there's some decks and some other things. If we don't quite get those done, there's things that we can do to, make those safe where people can't get on them, and do a partial occupancy and still be compliant. So I feel pretty good that way. But I mean, if everything works out, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't have everything done.
Well, and he redid the occupancy.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
That
And-
just
and-
hasn't, they haven't seen it yet on the occupancy. That just got turned in, but I think we have that figured out.
And I'll just say, minimum requirements, probably a poor choice of words there. But
yeah,
from-
they'll
from
be
my side of it.
compliant, yep, with
Okay.
all of our codes.
Okay. Good.
Any questions, comments anymore from council? Anybody from the public? Alrighty. Eric, do we need to make a motion on this we do, don't we?
If the council's desire is to approve all the malt beverage licenses with, of course, that understanding that with any of them, a certificate of occupancy would be required, I think it can all occur in one motion. If the council doesn't want to approve any particular ones, it should identify which ones it's pulling off before the motion.
Alrighty, well, I will take a motion for the renewals of the malt beverage South Dakota licenses for 26, 27. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve. Second.
Terry first, Alex second. All those in favor of the motion, yes?
Yes.
All those opposed? No? Alrighty, all those have been granted. Number 11, tabled items. Consider operation pathways under option 2 for the City of Sturgis Motorcycle Rally Sponsorship Program. Eric?
Well, I drafted you an updated report on this. The staff report's in your packet. Nothing's particularly changed. The council's had the option 2 memorandum after its decision to go with option 2 now for several meetings, and aware that the council is putting thought and consideration into this issue, and as was mentioned, visiting with others and historical operators, constituents, trying to reach the right decision. I don't particularly have anything to add at this point. I'm happy to stand by and answer any questions that the council has that would help it in its decision, but otherwise I'll stand by and answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Eric? Anybody from the public? None being seen. Do I have a motion or any more discussion on this?
I don't, whether it's discussion or motion, I'd move to table this until the second meeting in June.
So June 15th?
I think that's when is that a good
I'd
time
second.
frame for everybody else?
I'll second that.
I think that'd be good.
Would allow the new mayor to kind of.
Yeah, get some more input.
And like I said, I still have people reaching out to me on it too, so. And I don't think we're in no rush to get it pushed
Now we
through.
have 26 rally kind of covered, so.
So, all right, I had a first from, sorry about that, Mark,
I'll tell you, Jim, that's.
and Jim was second. All those in favor of the motion to table this till the second meeting in June, June 15th, say yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Okay, we'll see this back on the second meeting in June. Moving on to 12, reports. 12.1, consider to approve 2026 professional service agreement with SEDC. Aaron?
Yeah, this is our, kind of our standard 2025 to 2026. Basically, the deliverables are all the same. I'd probably emphasize we're helping us out here this year that I see is, obviously they're always advisors on economic development opportunities and risk. And then key thing for me is I've been talking about that comprehensive plan for so long is, we have met with Black Hills Area Council of Local Governments, and they are looking at starting that here this fall. Amanda, as the executive director for SEDC, has also been engaged with them on that particular endeavor. But other than that, I don't have anything else. Amanda is out in the audience, so if you have any other questions that I can't answer, I'm pretty sure Amanda could.
Anybody on council have questions or comments? Amanda, do you have anything you want to add? Okay. Anybody in the public? Come on up, Bonnie.
I just wanted Aaron to say again who that was. I didn't get who you said that they were working with.
Oh, for the comprehensive plan?
Yes.
That's Black Hills Council of Local Governments.
Okay, thank you.
So, and they support a lot of other communities doing the same thing, and we've been on their docket for a while. We tried to get it on it, I think, a year or two ago, but they just were booked up. And so we're on for later this October. I was at their, I think it's a quarterly meeting that they had here last week. Both Rick and I went to that one, and I met with their director, and so we just need to visit with them a little bit more and kind of tee things up, but they're looking at starting that here this fall.
Any other comments from the public? None being seen, do I have a motion to approve the professional agreement with SEDC?
I'll move.
Second.
First from Mark, a second from Alex. All those in favor of the motion, yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, no. We have a contract. 12.2, consider second reading of ordinance 2026-3, temporary residential rally camping. Eric?
So ordinance 2026-03 is the ordinance that would repeal and replace Chapter 91 dealing with temporary camping at a residence in the city. Obviously, we've been working on this for about the last 6 months through the ordinance committee and then through about the last 3-4 council meetings. So what the ordinance reflects on this meeting is the council reviewed it at first reading in a red line form, as I indicated to you in that meeting. This document in the packet is accepting all those red line changes, and then the change that was directed by the council on the definition of the rally window, going from the 3 days immediately preceding the rally to the 7 days immediately preceding the rally. And then I also threw in, just in response to the conversations about the non-rally residential camping, the idea of there being a permit that would relax those requirements for certain larger, better situated properties for it. So that is what the material addition on 9106F is attempting to accomplish, to throw in another small limited permit to authorize residential rally camping, non-commercial, on certain qualifying properties. And then what I did just as I was working through that was to try to come up with some sort of objective placeholder. The main proponent of it was indicating that she had a fairly large parcel, and so I just selected 1 acre as being the limit for that, just as a starting point for the council to review and consider. Of course, the council would always have the ability to change that, and then I threw in just 2 separate 10-day consecutive periods as some sort of temporal limitation on that. So those are only my thoughts. They were only inserted as placeholders, so the council is free to adopt that and change any of those requirements it would like, or discard it completely and not go with that new permit. Happy to answer any questions about the changes in the ordinance, and then everything else in the ordinance, the remainder of the red line that you see is just my attempt to accommodate that new concept into the language of the ordinance that wasn't drafted around this idea of there being 2 separate permits. So happy to answer any questions on that, happy to engage with the council on that requirement, or anything else. If it's ready for second reading, this is, in my view, not a big enough change in order to go back to first reading. I think we can go through second reading. Of course, it's always up to the council on whether or not it's ready for action on this. Stand by for any questions.
Anybody on council have questions for Eric?
Oh, not questions, but I
Okay.
probably still can't support the 7 days ahead of time.
7 days before the rally.
No. I want to go back to the 3.
Any more questions or comments from council?
If that changes now, that sends us back to.
It's entirely up to the council. State law is incredibly vague on this, and I can't even quote you directly off exactly what it is, but talks about substantial changes. And when we're talking about, we're working within the same essential framework, we're working within the same permit system, but we're just adjusting minor permit language or the days within that same, that to me does not require going back to another first reading. The statute really leaves the judgment call on whether to do that up with the city council. So my opinion, you should take it for whatever it's worth, but I don't think legally this kind of change that we're talking about. If the council wants to make any of these changes, either to adopt the red lines or get rid of the red lines, would not require us to go back and read the title of the ordinance again. But of course, we could always do that if that's the council's desire.
And it's not my desire I want second reading done. I probably can't support it at the 7 days.
Is there an in-between that you could?
Well, nothing before the Monday before, for sure. So that's
Would be
four,
five.
that's 4 days.
Mark, can I ask you what's your reasoning for that?
Part of it goes back to the parking. We turned that down. We refused to do that. I think it's too long. I don't think we need it that far ahead. I think, I'd like to stay with the 3 days. I could accept 4 if that's Monday, but probably not beyond that.
Yeah, I was going to say that I really look like I wanted to speak. I appreciate your comment. My conversations with people and with folks about the time before the rally and everything, I would still be in full support of the 7 days leading up to it. That's just been my conversations with folks who are looking to benefit from the. I was also in support of the motorcycle parking downtown before as well, so I would support it as written.
I agree with Ruth on that, based on what people have talked to me about. That's why I was curious, Mark, what your thinking was.
Anybody else from council? Anybody from the public? Come on up.
You knew I'd have something to say. I'm Joy Nichols.
Thank you, Joy.
And I kind of agree with the 7 days, just because looking at a lot of people do come into the rally beforehand before it gets really congested. They're coming in to get their T-shirts, they're going around the hills, and then they're leaving. And then we've got the second contingent that kind of comes in later, and they stay after. I'm afraid for our group that we will probably run into that 3 days after time frame. We might have somebody who's here 4 or 5 days after, but it would just be a simple camping up on the property. It's not like any major thing. But I'm thinking about some of the people coming in here as well to do setting up for their venue, the vendors and such like that who do come out to stay. And that's just my 2 cents, like Eric says, for what it's worth. Okay, so I would say 7 days myself, but if I could go on beyond that really quick, I just have a couple points of clarification. Excuse me while I get my glasses on so I can see it. In your new, on page 6 of 14, in the new part that you put in there for that non-rally, it mentions the 2 separate camping periods per calendar year. So if you had, so we're saying here that this is non-rally. So if somebody did two different camping things plus rally, would that be a problem?
Let me make sure I understand. So
It's a hard one to figure.
So remember, the new structure of the ordinance distinguishes rally camping from non-rally camping. And so rally camping is always going to be limited to what is defined as the rally window, and that's the commercial camping. So if the question is, could someone take their non-rally camping to 10-day, if that's what it ends up being, periods and stack that onto the rally camping? The answer is no, on the way that the ordinance is constructed right now. So those would be 2 separate concepts. So this would allow the kind of thing that on a qualifying property, you could have, say, a 10-day family reunion in May and another one in September.
Okay, so which is fine, but I'm worried about then also, we could also do it with the permit for rally.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to verify that. And then had one other small thing. I'm not attacking on language.
It's okay. I'm used to defending my work in front of judges, so it's fine. It's not always right.
All righty. So we talk about that denials are, this is on page 9 of 14, denials of an application shall be in writing, approvals with conditions shall be in writing. Are approvals in writing as well, or is it a phone call, or how is, like, we turned in my camping plan today.
Yep.
When will we know if it's been approved or not, or if there will be conditions? Is it going to be in writing if you say it's approved with no conditions?
Yeah, the options we would have is that it would just be approved because there is no condition requirement, everything fits. Or we would have some conditions that would have to be updated and then approved. And we'll probably negotiate with that person just to make sure they're clear on that, they're good with that. But there would be a page there that would be signed by the city administrator saying this has been approved or it's been approved with these conditions.
Okay, so what I guess I'm getting at is if you're doing everything else in writing, are you going to send a letter to say you've been approved?
Well, yes, yes. ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
that's one thing. And then, will there be just the paperwork that you send to say that we are approved, that's sufficient? We don't have to have some sort of thing hanging in the window or a campsite that says you've been approved by the city?
Right now, there's nothing in the ordinance that requires that. You know, if there was, for example, if we did have to go out and do code enforcement because somebody was complaining about noise or something, you know, you would just have that to show that person that, yep, this permit, I have this and whatnot.
Okay,
So,
that's all I have today.
what's that?
And they would have it too, the code enforcement.
Yeah, the code enforcement would have it too. And I have to say that Joy turned in the very first residential camping permit in the history of the city of Sturgis, so thank you.
Yay! Thank you.
And Joy, you did good. I seen that permit.
Oh,
Not
did you?
Simple, but it was what we needed, so thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
No,
Oh,
hang tight.
oh, hang tight. Okay.
Can you please state your name, Tia?
Tia Hartwell.
Thank you.
Aren't you guys sick of hearing that name yet? My question, Mark, is on that. I personally think it should stay 7 because as a business owner, we have to bring in people at least a week early to get everything set up. They also stay a week after getting stuff put down. So that really doesn't help. And I'm not saying it just for me, I'm saying it for all the businesses that have to bring in people.
Yeah, the people that have talked to me about it are residents, not camping people. They don't want it that long.
I'm a resident too.
No, I realize that. This is the first I've heard from you. Other people have talked to me about it.
Well, the 3-day wouldn't work. I'm trying to show you another side of why it wouldn't work.
During the first meeting, there were several people here who were very concerned because they had people coming in early, just exactly for that, for setting up, and then at the end. I'm more comfortable with the 7 days beforehand because it takes a lot of prep to get everything in. I don't know what they would do with the 3 days, and that's a business decision from you. For me, as somebody who allows campers to come on, we're not commercial. We don't charge. Most of them are family and friends. Don't accept a penny for it. I've never received a penny for it either. So that's the thing, is that I do see that, and I remember from the first meeting that there were very much concerns about people coming in beforehand to set up and people to tear down. So.
Well, a lot of people come a week early, regular people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the 3-day just doesn't seem to work.
I understand what you guys are saying, but I understand what Mark's saying, right?
Yes,
There's two
yes.
sides to this.
Yes.
We need the places to put the people, but we also have residents that,
Well, the people
know.
are gonna come regardless. A lot of people come early because they don't wanna deal with the crowds. They come in a week early, they leave before the crowd, but they're still here. If they have no place to go, they're not gonna come.
and I'm just saying, I understand what you guys are saying, and I understand what Mark's saying.
Yep.
I get both sides.
This is all in conversation and just talking about it, right? Okay. Yep.
I say
Okay.
7-day.
Thank you. Bonnie, come on up.
Thank you.
Bonnie Alberts. I just wanted to offer that I understand what T is saying about basically having to bring employees in, and I understand Mark's concerns as well. But we're not talking about broad application of this. These would be peppered with those circumstances. Is that not something, even though the ordinance might read 7 plus rally plus 3, that those exceptional circumstances could be addressed with a permission permit?
I mean, Bonnie, I would say that probably, in my view, wouldn't be ideal. The whole, I mean, a huge point about the ordinance is establishing uniform rules for everyone to follow, and so and to rely on. So that would be for the council, for the staff, enforcing the ordinance, and for the neighbors who understand when this kind of residential camping activity is allowed and is not allowed. And so one of the things that we are trying to get away from is individuals coming in to petition the council to say, I don't want to follow the rules that everyone else is following. I want my own special set of rules. So that is one of the things that we're trying to avoid, and at least when it comes to like the definition of the rally window, what is everyone required to follow?
So what is our recommendation then for people who are trying to run a business, make a living, not just profit from that rally period itself, but, I mean, is it not part of this body's responsibility to solve the problems that we're facing as well? You know, we have vendors who come in. I've only once had a vendor, but it was not when anybody was paying attention, so it didn't matter when they came or how long they stayed.
Bonnie, could you restate the problem? Is the problem that you think 7 days before is not enough?
No, I think 7 days before is enough, but I understand what Tia's saying about this, the 3 days after, when she's got duties that she needs employees to perform. And
So you're saying the 3 days after is too little?
not ordinarily, but for a business operation, it might be, and that might be the exception, that
I think when
as a
Tia said
business.
3 days, she was referencing 3 days prior or 7 days prior. Is that correct, Tia?
7 days prior.
Yeah, but when you were referencing 3, you were referring to the prior.
Correct.
Yes.
Were you not concerned about after rally end?
I think it should be both, honestly. I mean,
Well,
you
that's
gotta
what-
look at a whole.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were saying, was that you had concerns for being able to get your after rally work done with the employees that you bring in.
It's not just me. I'm speaking for other businesses.
No, I understand.
And the other vendors that come in. And non-vendors. Regular people that come in. The object is to keep these people in this town, not get them to go to the campgrounds, per se. So if we open it up, they have places to go. And a lot of people like to come before, and they like to come after to do the shopping or whatever. That's one thing. And then you have the work side of it. These people have to have, I mean, it doesn't just go away after the rally. And a lot of these big buildings, it takes a while to get that stuff packed up and gone. So.
You probably have solution to it, because I know what your accommodations are. The people you don't necessarily need after the end of rally are leaving anyway, and you can bring everybody else indoors if you had to. And indoors is not impacted by the camping ordinance. So your tail is covered on that. And I may have spoken out of turn, misunderstanding what you were saying. And I guess what we're saying is if people are going to stay more than 3 days after the rally, they'll have to find other places to stay. Commercial campgrounds, motels, whatever.
Right, and there would be open after 3 days on the end,
Right,
not
okay.
in front.
I'm sorry, I'm misunderstood and I misspoke. I do have some other things I wanted to ask about. As I went through that, is this an okay time for that? This was a lot of reading for you guys this weekend. I do not read fast enough to be a council member. Eric, I thought you did a really good job on these, on the red lines that you added. I was reading it in black and white, so it was a little bit harder, but I was on the, by right, non-rally camping shall not exceed 7 calendar days per year. Can that be exceeded by, you don't need permission to do 7 days? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
If you need to do more than 7 days, or you have more than one group that comes, can you permit for additional?
That's the addition of F.
Okay.
City administrator can issue a permit exceeding those requirements in D.
Okay, and then in that section F was a whole red line section, and that was the one where you said of at least 1 acre, and you had left that open for the council to adjust that. I just looked at that and said, who in town has a house that sits on an acre of ground that's gonna do campers?
Quite a few.
I mean, I just don't think that's a,
Right behind you.
well, yeah, but
It's
for
going to
the
be
most part, I mean, that just doesn't exist, really.
it's going to be a pretty narrow class of properties that would apply for this, depending on what, if the council keeps it and if they keep that 1 acre or adjust it. But that's the idea, is that what might be suitable for a unique 3 acre parcel without significant neighborhood concerns, suitable for a 50-foot frontage lot in downtown.
But I thought we had the conversation, I guess I thought we had the conversation about, you know, it has nothing to do with the size of the ground. It has everything to do with what's already on the ground before you start having campers.
We did, but only in relation to rally camping.
So, residential camping permit authorizing expanded non-rally camping. So you can't expand your non-rally by right camping unless you've got an acre of ground. Is that what it's saying?
That's what the addition of F is saying, that all properties are limited to the 3 camping units, 10 campers, 7 calendar days.
And
This
1
would,
acre.
I'm sorry?
And 1 acre.
This would carve out a special permit. I mean, I guess what I would refer to as the family reunion exception, now that we've been talking about it, but only for certain qualified properties, and those would be properties of a certain size. Yes.
So with the 1 acre on there, almost anybody who's going to have family for reunion is going to have to go through the permit process. There's no such thing as just automatic by right if you don't have an acre of ground.
No, I'm sorry. So the only trigger for the 1 acre would be that if you want to expand the 3 camping units, 10 campers, 7 calendar days. So if you want to have, right now, the way that the ordinance is drafted, is if you want to have a 6-day family reunion with 10 individuals and 3 or less camping units, you may do that without coming to the city, without getting a permit. But if you want to have a 10-day family reunion, then you need to be this qualifying property that would be of a particular size, get a permit for that, and then satisfy some of the other criteria in the rally camping ordinance about, you know, the basic health, safety, welfare guardrails.
So can the issues addressed by the permit, can the permit waive the acre requirement?
If the council wants to do that, it could build that structure. The policy
That has
judgment.
to happen now.
That would happen now, yes.
Then I would advocate for that. I don't think that 1 acre belongs in there. I think it belongs, as part of the application process. You look at the application, you look at the size of the ground, you look at the number of structures on it and what they want to do with it. That's what decides whether it's an appropriate application, not the size of the ground.
That's up to the council to decide. The policy, you know, judgment behind this ordinance is that, you know, essentially where we landed is if you want to have large-scale family reunions of people camping out on your property, maybe that's not best for residential neighborhoods, and maybe that's best for commercial campgrounds, that isn't a use that is appropriate in a residential setting. But this is to attempt to find that middle ground to say there are certain properties that can handle this. If the council wants to expand that larger and using my word choices carefully after I was been quoted in the newspaper a few times, but the council can certainly do that. That is not what I was hearing from the last meeting, that was an expansion that the council wanted to look at, of having these permits for these large family reunions on smaller lots. But the ordinance can be drafted that way.
But if you consider 3 camping units and 10 bodies as the limit, then that's going to automatically, I mean, remember the conversation when I said if I have 5 guys, I'm going to have 5 units? You know, that automatically throws it into, if I'm going to have, say I'm going to have a non-rally event, I have 5 guys, they're going to be in 5 separate tents, you know they are, then automatically I have to have an acre. Isn't that what this is saying to me?
That is more, yes, that's basically what that is saying to you.
And I'm saying I think that's not an appropriate confine.
And you're talking about non-rally camping.
Right.
I hear you, Bonnie.
Am I going to do it? No, I'm not going to do it. But you know that I read these things as they stand in reality, and that's the reality. Guys sleep 1 to a tent. I could have 10 women in 2 units and be just fine, because that's how they camp. But 2 units, 10 bodies, anything beyond one of those parameters requires an acre of ground is not an appropriate restriction, and I would
I think
ask the council to
the
consider
idea was
changing that.
outside of rally,
Right.
you were probably addressing more of these family reunion type situations, not another 10 days of a commercial campground.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, objectively speaking, I think that is automatically too restrictive and needs to not be there. I think the fact that we have our permitting process can address that, the size of the property, and whether it's appropriate for the proposal. So then when I get over here to 9107 ABC, there we have again 3 units and 10 campers. If that remains as 3 units with 10 campers, can that be altered with a plan? With a request for more based on this is what we plan to do?
Yes, so you're talking about the by right limits that residents can offer rally camping without coming to the city for a permit.
Right.
And if they want to go over that, they can go over that with no cap, but they need to apply for a permit.
Okay. Then when we talk about, are there provisions for, I know what we want to do is get the applications in. It can be processed in time for rally, and then non-rally camping 30 days before. Do we have latitude for if something comes up and a family doesn't have 30 days before they do what they need to do? Is that negotiable through permit?
Are you talking about for rally?
I'm down to 9109A.
Is that for the
I'm
rally
sorry.
permit? Is that rally permit?
No, that's, rally permits are June 15th. I get that days before.
For the rally?
No, 30 days before the event, when it's,
Non-rally.
non-rally.
Oh, non-rally?
That's
Yeah.
a red line.
Sure.
That's a red section.
You know, I guess my answer to that would be you could look at that 2 different ways. Would a permit coming in on the 29th day be ineligible under the ordinance? The executive in enforcing this could probably make that determination, and if so, the council could decide to change it. If the mayor and city administrator wanted to consider a permit below that window, I would think that would fall within their discretion. So I would be comfortable leaving it this way and seeing if we run into problems and the council can adjust it moving forward. Either way, we can add new language to that as well.
And you know that my way of reading these things and looking at it is from multiple sides. And so, I mean, I don't mean to be picking, I'm just asking that we think about it before we run into it. And I think otherwise, I like that it says motorcycles and passenger vehicles can park on the street. Oh, I know, down here in the suspension, revocation, and enforcement, it says, fine schedule per parcel per calendar year, $100 for the first violation. What if the violation went on for 3 days? We had that conversation one time that 3 days would be 3 violations.
Correct.
But, I mean, so you mess up, and it turns out you've been messed up for 3 days. Is that a $300 fine, or is that a $100 fine? Is that one violation?
It would probably depend on the facts and circumstances of each one, but subsection D says each calendar day that a violation continues is treated as a separate offense.
And so that's what I couldn't find, because I was going too fast. I couldn't find where that says that. Where is that?
It's in 9117D, right above the fine schedule.
Each calendar day, the violation, okay, as a separate offense. Okay, I just slid past it and couldn't see it. So the first day is 100, the second day is 250, you're up to 350?
Per violation.
Does intent have anything to do with it?
I'm sure it would come up. So the city ordinance violations are prosecuted in magistrate court up in the 4th Judicial Circuit. So there would be an opportunity for, there would obviously be a citation. The city would be held to a beyond a reasonable doubt standard of proof, and it would go in front of a judge.
Well, and I understand that there have to be consequences, and I'm not bucking that at all. I just don't want to see us go through this and wind up in an adversarial relationship between the council that created the ordinance. Like, I just don't want to wind up there.
Back on that stuff later. The non-rally stuff later. We need an answer.
So it's like with anything, if somebody's out there purposely, obviously doing something way out of bounds, that, that's a different situation than somebody that, oops,
Well, and
screwed up, I'll fix it.
yeah, I think about me and how many years I continued my mother's camping, not knowing that the ordinance had changed. I mean, that could have cost me a lot of money if something like this were in place, and I simply did not know that the ordinance had changed, so.
Everyone's been getting a warning. Yeah.
There was penalties in the existing ordinance.
Yeah, and I was in violation and didn't know it.
The direction.
Still doing what I thought was right, so I just want to be sure that we don't set up a punitive attitude toward people who are trying to do, as we said, we should be able to do as citizens, is capitalize on the rally.
Yep,
That's
we
all.
have to have some sort of enforcement mechanism in the ordinance. State law says that these kind of Class 2 misdemeanors can be up to $500. So that's the way that most of our ordinances read. So this is a significant reduction under that. And then underlying all of this, the direction that's been coming out of the executive side, the city administrator side, code enforcement side, is that enforcement of this ordinance is going to be pretty light touch, certainly for the first couple of years while people are being educated, that it's starting on warnings, we're going for compliance. These kind of matters, the concept of prosecutorial discretion always comes into play, so it's a judgment call. I don't get a ticket every time I'm going 26 and a 25, but I could. But it doesn't happen. So I think that's likely on this one. But if there isn't some sort of penalty provision in there, then the ordinance is pretty toothless. So that's why I threw it in that way with the escalation.
I do appreciate how much you put into this. This was a mess to start with, and I know it's taken a lot of time and a lot of challenges, so I thank you for that.
I wish I could say it was a labor of love, but
But I know it was not.
like a little bit.
And I know you flinch every time I ask a question about it.
No, not
but-
true.
But thank you.
Anybody else from the public? Come on up, sir.
My name's Dave Grenger. I agree with the young lady back there on extending the rally. We have vendors come in early to set up and vendors tearing down. And then you'll also have extended your permits for when the vendors can sell, so that also brings them in earlier. So you're gonna have to accommodate that. If you're gonna have them come in and sell stuff early, you're gonna have to let them bring their campers. Another thing with their camping is, are they camping when they camp behind their tents? Like up on Black Hills Federal Credit Union, they set up their t-shirt shop, they got their campers behind there, they stay in their campers. Are they camping? So there's are they gonna be over when they come in and camp for 10, 12, 14 days, setting stuff up, tearing stuff down? They're camping, I would say, or they're down here at the One-Eyed Jacks, got a camper beside the building. Isn't that camping?
This ordinance only regulates camping in
yards.
residential areas. Yep,
Why
this
are
is
they different than me?
they're different circumstances. So this is the one that's touching residential camping only. The idea of camping in the commercial areas isn't being touched by this ordinance.
Okay, and another one is the non-resident, 9106. And I brought it up last week, or last meeting. Camping is permitted on non-commercial basis. No fees, rent, charge, donation, or contribution can be made and are accepted in exchange for non-rally camping. That's my business. If somebody wants to give me a $100 bill, that's none of your business. That's up to me. And I can't see where you can make that an ordinance. And as far as parking, I think you're right. If it's certain parts, if they're parking in front of their neighbors, they should go to their neighbors and say, hey, you can't be parking here. I mean, that's what I do. I make sure mine, before I put anybody's pickup or cars or trailers there. I don't let nobody camp out there with a camper. I have that problem right behind the old Permida. Every year there's 4 or 5 that try to sleep down there. And the city knows it. I've called the police department on it. So, but that's all I got so far. Thank you.
Daniel Granello, Ward 2. Speaking to what Bonnie was saying about the penalty for first, second, and third violation, I would propose day one, instead of being cited $100, proposing that maybe a warning, because there's I didn't see any provisions for a warning, so I'm proposing day one be a warning, day two be the $100, and so forth.
They're gonna come and educate everybody if there is an issue. They're not just gonna come up and start writing tickets.
That's what I'm afraid of.
It's not the way that it's designed. It's supposed to be educational for everybody.
Well, even beyond the education side of it, we have other ordinances that have, fees that are attached to it based on violations. Our mode of operation is never jump right into it. Now, if it's really severe or based on how that interaction goes, well, it's possible. But normally, and Jody, you can feel free to step in on this because I know you deal with a lot of these in the past. But normally they really work with that person, make them, first of all, educate, even not even beyond the first couple of years. It's not like the very first time we have an offense. But once we get to a point where either they're not responding or they're not fixing it or not accommodating those type of things, that's when they start doing the violations.
It's probably kind of like, you got to keep your yard mowed to us. You know, you can't let your weeds get 3 feet tall. Nobody's usually, I would think it'd be similar, that they go out and say, hey, we need to take care of this. And you take care of it and we're good. They say, hey, we need to take care of this, and you don't, you know, you let it go for another week, then that's probably, that's kind of what you're getting at, right, Aaron? Is
Correct.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, the intent is not to be adversarial, you know, is go right into it. It's normally it's at least what I've witnessed over the last, you know, year and a half with code enforcement is that they don't get to the fees until they feel like that's the last resort to be able to fix the problem. They normally do everything they can to be able to address the issue.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public? Anybody from council? None being seen. Do we have a motion? And if you do have a motion and with changes, I'd like to have them added into the motion, so.
Yep, I would just need, depending on what the council's direction is, if it's to move forward with second reading, I'll need direction on the 7 days versus 3 days, and the concept of the non-rally expanded residential camping permit.
Motion to approve the second reading ordinance with the red line. Would that work?
Mhm.
That's just the way that,
The way it is.
I'll second.
I have a first from Alex, a second from Ruth. All those in favor of the motion, say yes.
Yes.
All those approve or disapprove, no.
No.
Looks like we passed second reading of the camping ordinance. Moving on to 12.3, consider a municipal solid waste agreement with Kiefer Sanitation. Rick?
Evening, council. Tonight's item is a consideration of a municipal solid waste services agreement with Kiefer Sanitation. You have a lot of information in the staff report, along with a copy of the service agreement. Been a lot of work back and forth on that between myself, Eric, and the Kiefer team, and we feel like we're ready to present this for your consideration tonight. My intentions tonight are to give you kind of a high-level overview. I'm not gonna go through that word for word and bullet point for bullet point. But as you remember, this is following the council's direction and decision of March 2nd, 2026, selecting Kiefer as the preferred provider and authorizing these service agreement negotiations. The agreement in front of you is the result of a lot of working sessions, operational discussions, and legal review. The city does have a long history of providing solid waste services. However, ongoing changes, operational and in industry conditions have prompted a reassessment of how those services have to be delivered. We continue to face rising equipment and disposal costs, increasing regulatory requirements, aging fleet and infrastructure, workforce shortages, especially when it comes to CDL equipped operators. Currently, we do have multiple trucks that are out of services. We have some key positions that we've lost through retirement and attrition. We have not backfilled those. And in order to continuing operating under the city's under our care, the city would need to invest a significant amount of money into our capital investment into trucks, ongoing staffing, maintenance, and operational costs. You know, the bottom line for us in looking at this is about the long-term sustainability and the risk management. It's not just looking at short-term costs. This agreement is not a franchise agreement. This is a municipal service agreement. That means that the city will still retain full control over our rates, our customer billing, service standards, routes, and policies. You know, the intent is not to give away this program, but to contract with Kiefer to perform operations and while we maintain a level of control. How this service agreement would work, the city remains being the public-facing provider. Kiefer would perform operations which would include the collection, the hauling, the disposal, the recycling services. So basically, customers would still receive their bills from the city and still contact the city with any problems, any service issues, any work orders that needed. Kiefer, in turn, will invoice the city monthly, providing a detailed report and performance data. We have included in this service agreement a transition plan. That's built in there to ensure there are no disruptions to the residents. It includes the same routes and pickup days at startup. This is a 6-month transition period focused on continuity. City staff will be riding along with the Kiefer staff so that they get to understand all of the routes and how we do things. Our goal is to get that knowledge transfer to them. Again, the whole intent of this is that our residents locally notice little to no difference in the service. It's simply going to be a different truck providing that service. Some of the services that are included under this agreement, of course, are the residential garbage collection, which would still continue to happen weekly. All of our commercial solid waste services continue our recycling. We're looking to expand that and offer some new and exciting things. We're trying to put together a curbside recycling option that will afford our residents to simply pull out a tote to the curb like they do their residential garbage and not have to haul it around. One of the other important things about that is being able to gain control back of our Exit 32 site. We just simply cannot continue to operate in the manner that we have, both with the recyclables, the cardboard, the yard waste. Every day I'm sending Aaron a notice of another landfill or rubble site that is discontinuing services. Rapid City was just in the newspaper earlier this week, late last week, that they're changing their operations as well. So it's not a Sturgis thing, it's a regional, and some of that comes from the cost that's associated with it. We will still continue to handle our special events and rally operations. That's not going to change. We do have a plan to ensure that rally operations go on as normal, and that's a little bit of a transition period than the residential and the commercial. We're looking at possibly a 3-year transition. It'll be hard for them to come in this year, and by the time they get things kind of figured out and everything solved, the rally's over, and then to have them come back the next year and remember what we did. You know, we've got 80 some years underneath of our belt, so it's pretty etched into all of our employees, but we want to give them enough time to understand how we do things and then collaborate with them. You know, they're going to come back to us and say, hey, we think we could do this better. We could do this more efficient. We want to work with them to handle all of that. The final, the final structure, for the year one, our rates are pretty much fixed. In the future, we did set a annual maximum annual increase. Along with that, we've asked them to give us notice of those increases and time that we can incorporate that into our budget. And those increases would have to be justified, such things of, if we continue to have $5 or $6 a gallon diesel fuel, that would be a justification. The CPI, the tipping fees that we're paying at either Belle Fourche or at Rapid City, again, those get handed down to us. Even if we were continuing to do the operations, we would have to raise our rates. That's why the council looks at that, determines that, and sets the utility rates each year by resolution. That's the same with water, with sewer, with sanitation. So nothing there. Again, what we're trying to make our residents understand is the city is still trying to retain control over what the residents are charged. We're not going to, I've had a lot of people reach out to me, well, you're going to enter into an agreement and then they're going to turn around and tack all these fees and increase these rates. That's not the intent. The rates will still have to come to you guys. You will set the rates, and we'll be working with that, like I said, with Kiefer. We have those maximum annual rates in that agreement. The risk reduction for the city is it does reduce the fleet replacement risk and costs, the staffing challenges, the operational liability, and we're still maintaining oversight, accountability, and the service standards. Some of the accountability and the performance, we're going to have monthly reporting that's required. They'll be reporting back to us on missed pickups, complaints, the tonnage, the disposal. We'll have performance standards that we have built into that service agreement, escalation process. So there's termination protections. The initial contract term would be June 1 of 2026, and it would go through May 31st of 2031. Additionally, we have written in there that there's 2 additional 2-year renewal periods with this contract. And one of the other things that we worked out is how we will continue to, we're looking at a lease option on all of our totes, our current inventory of totes, both the 300s and the 90s. They're actually 96 gallons, but we call them 90s. We will basically be leasing them to Kiefer. Kiefer will perform all of the maintenance and repairs on them and then turn around and bill us for those. So that way we retain that. We don't have to go through the traditional means of disposal on that and putting it out to bid. Thanks to Eric, that was just a much cleaner way of doing it once we looked at it. As we buy new totes, as we grow and expand as a city, Kiefer will simply purchase those totes and then they will send us a monthly bill for them when they're put out into service. So I think that works very, very well. And that was a good collaboration on everybody's part. With that, I guess I would be open to answer any questions you have. Our recommendation would be to approve this agreement with Kiefer Sanitation and authorize the execution of so agreement by Mayor Pro Tempore Dargatz. Allow the city attorney and myself to finalize this agreement with any minor edits that would need to be made and move forward with it. We really do think that it's a good move for the city. I think it will, in the long run, will save us a lot of money. I think that we'll be able to provide a better service to our citizens. And again, for the most part, they'll see very, very little changes in how things operate today. With that, I'd also like to take an opportunity to introduce Donald Clark. He's the district manager for Kiefer, and Derek Parse, who is the operations manager. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if you have any of those, I'm sure they would be happy to answer any of your questions as well.
Quickly, Rick, just because it's on everybody's mind, especially this week, just we've talked about it, but the city will continue to do the spring and fall cleanups in-house.
Correct. So you'll see in the agreement, if you've read it, there's a part in there about what goods or items that would be covered under this service agreement. And so there's things such as if we ever had an Atlas storm again, or not if, when we have one, those are things that we wouldn't be saying, hey, you know, Kiefer, you have to pick up this stuff. We would continue, our intent is to continue the 2 annual curbside spring and fall cleanups. That would all be handled by city. The yard waste, city crews are gonna handle that. Really what we're talking about is the solid municipal waste, which is the household garbage, the stuff that we have to haul either to Belle Fourche or to Rapid, not the stuff that goes to our landfill, and then the recycling that we're going to continue to offer.
Rick, so can we, when residents ask us about costs, the rest of the year is set?
Our costs for 2026 are already set. Those will not change.
So the first time we'll address any increase would be?
2027.
Right. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
With let me back up. The only exception to that will be the curbside recycling. We have a price that they have proposed to us, but that was based on a 50% participation. We're going to be pushing out later this week where residents, if they're interested in doing that subscription recycling, they can call us and set it up. And that way we'll be able to better get a feel for how many customers we're going to have. And of course, if we don't end up at the 50% and say we would end up at 20%, the cost would be a little bit different. But once we kind of have an idea of what that is, we'll be able to tell each resident what that cost is. And again, it will be billed. It will be an additional service that you call up Jim and say, hey, I'd really like to do curbside recycling, you know, and we would sign you up and say, okay, it's going to be this cost.
So if it's less than 50%, it'll still happen. It'll just be at a better cost, higher cost.
It could. I mean, if we got to a point where we were down to 2%, 1%, I mean, we would have to sit down with Kiefer. Again, it's got to make sense. It wouldn't make sense for us to go out and collect it. If out of the 3,000 residential accounts, we only have 10 that want to participate, it just wouldn't make sense to do that. I mean, the hard thing with the recycling is it honestly is mostly done at I mean, your goal is to break even, to not lose money. And when we look at, you know, it was interesting that I saw that the Dakota Territory ran the story about our new cardboard containers that we put out there, and the very first comment on there was a lady that said, geez, we just moved to Leiden Deadwood. We're glad you posted this story. Now we know where to take our recyclables. and that's not the intent. I mean, the intent of what we're putting together is for the residents, for the taxpayers, for the citizens of Sturgis. It's not, I mean, we just can't handle it from everybody. I wish we could, but we simply can't.
That cost would become our cost.
It is. I mean, the other day I was telling Aaron, I was walking over here the other morning and I paused, and actually it was this morning, and there was an individual and had a big water tank in the back of his truck, like most people who live out in the country do haul water, and he had out of county plates. And what was he doing? He's throwing his garbage into one of our totes. You know, again, that we're paying for that. All of the residents are paying for that. We got to pay for both the tipping fees for that and for the cost to collect it. And it's just not sustainable when people do that. No different than I wouldn't take my garbage and take it to Spearfish and dump it out. I mean, so we've got to somehow try and address those things. And I think we're moving in the right direction. I think that this service agreement will certainly help us some of those things and create those efficiencies and save us money moving forward.
Thank you, Rick.
Got a couple new trucks coming for that too, I suppose, for them.
I was gonna say,
Two new trucks.
Two new trucks, they tell me.
Wrapped in rally logos and all sorts of stuff.
You know, that was one of the things that they brought up actually is again they want to be not just a vendor for Sturgis, they want to be a part of Sturgis. And if you look at in some of the other places, like for example, they were telling me, you know, in Box Elder, they put a wrap on that truck and it's got a picture of a jet on it. And they really do try to belong, to be a part of the community. You know, they want to be a part of our Touch a Truck days and bring their crews down, do more things to be involved in the community. So again, this isn't just about, hey, we're just going to put out a service agreement, pay them money, and they're just going to, you know, sit back at their office and count all the times they tip. They want to be a part of our community. So,
Do either one of you reps have anything else you want to add?
No, I think Rick killed it. We're very much looking forward to working with the city. You know, like Rick said, we have a Badlands truck in Wall, we have a Mammoth truck in Hot Springs, we have bomber trucks in Box Elder, we have Mount Rushmore with the Blue Angels that runs around Rapid City, we have Spearfish Straddle Bowl. You know, these trucks are very much a reflection of the communities that we're involved in. So nobody wants to see a green truck running down the interstate and say, man, who's that? I want them to say, that's Kiefer with the Sturgis truck, you know, like that's what we're always looking for.
Okay. Anybody from council have any more questions, comments? Anybody from the public? Come on up.
I apologize that I did not review this. I was really more concerned with my camping issues, but I do have a quick question for you. So if this gets signed, it goes into effect June 1, and then if we needed an extra dump during rally, we would call you
you would
first. We don't have-
continue to call us. We'd generate the work order, and then we send the work order instead of our crews doing it. We would just send it down to Kiefer, and they would handle it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is always, we will always still be the front face of
Okay.
the sanitation.
And then I noticed that an additional residential dump was not filled in up here where we had.
Those don't, and please just take that out. Those are not the rates. We've already adopted our rates. These are different rates than what the city has adopted. So, I mean, these are just contract rates between the city and Kiefer. These are not the rates between the city and the resident.
Yep, so there are a couple issues on this as we were working through it with Kiefer's council, and I just noticed that I wasn't able to locate what the per dump additional residential dump was, and I was out of town and Rick was out of town, so that just needs to be added once I can figure that out. And then there's one more blank in the contract. And then we were working late Friday afternoon with Kiefer's corporate counsel just to wordsmith some of the language, and we'll probably follow up with that later in the week. So no material changes to the contract, but just doing some of the dotting of I's and crossing of T's. But then just to Rick's point, to be clear, the prices that you're seeing in the exhibits are Kiefer's prices to the city, but the city council is setting all of the other prices.
Okay, and do we have an idea right now for rally, an additional rally dump?
You call me tomorrow. It is
there?
already set. It's in the resolution.
Okay.
Our extra dump fee is already, and that will
Okay.
be the same as if we continued to do it. That's not going to change.
Okay.
It was set last year.
Okay. Oh,
The end of last year, we adopted our rates, yes.
okay, thank you. And again, I apologize for not having, but we were sitting here and it just hit me.
Yeah,
so.
yep,
Okay, thank you, sir.
yep.
Come on up, sir.
I got just one question on recycling. If we're gonna get more totes, do we take them out to where our dumpsters are, or are we gonna put them out in the?
You would take them curbside. I mean, just like where your tote is.
Well, my
That's
tote's in
where
the
they
alley,
would go.
so-
If you have an alley one, we would, there's gonna be somewhere, yes, it's gonna have to be placed in the alley. Pickup, that's likely where it would be picked up.
Guess you won't get one from me. That's more work the old woman will make for me. Thank you.
Bonnie, did you have something? No. Come on up, please.
I guess I want to ask will there be, once we get this rolling, will we be talking again about not just recycling, but use and misuse. Like when we're talking about, will we still have like yard waste and branches out at, what, exit 32?
We will. We're going to always have those surfaces. Sometimes we will likely have to make changes. Again, we just can't continue to sustain where we're at. Can't always say that they will be at exit 32.
Right.
We may have to move some of that stuff where we can keep better control over it. Again, we just can't continue to accept all of the stuff from out of town. We just don't have the resources to do that, nor should our residents have to pay for it. I mean, it just, I swear, if you follow, I mean, I always see it in the Black Hills Pioneer, it's almost weekly, some of the other community is either closing down the program altogether or making changes to it. You know, cardboard's a big one. And I've spent all day today looking at it. Belle Fourche doesn't even offer it. You can go there and you can take it to their rubble site and you can pay to get rid of it. Spearfish, they only take it at their rubble site. So, you know, everybody operates a little different. We just can't continue operating the way we are today that we did 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It's just simply not sustainable. And so, yeah, we're gonna have to make changes. We're always gonna offer those services at some level. I mean, I don't want to lock in and say, yep, yard waste is always gonna be there.
Not asking.
We may, some point in time in the future, be able to go to a curbside pickup of yard waste like Rapid City does. You know, they come and pick it up every 2 weeks, so.
Well, I always do my own. I mean, if I can get it from my house to 32, I can get it from my house to the rubble site.
Right.
You know, so for some people, it's a matter of timing and work hours. Excuse me. But, you know, I spend a lot of time
You do.
out there. I go there frequently, and you've had my condolences. I mean, the thing that happened with the cardboard, I'm just appalled at what people are doing. But I'm thinking about things like, you don't put your leaves and your grass in your tote that gets picked up that we pay for hauling to Belle Fourche to dump when you've got a better solution for it. I mean, I'd rather see people do it in the roll-off than in their household tote.
Well, and that's why we started that.
Right. And so I guess I hope that on the other side of this contract, in the transition to Kiefer, that we can talk again and more about public education and what is the cheapest way for us to present our disposables for you to manage that for us.
Absolutely.
And so, but, yeah, the cardboard thing was just a disaster. And then when people, since we don't have the round totes there anymore, when people throw their bag of garbage up on the recycled trailers, you know, what help is that to anybody? It's appalling. But,
Yeah, it's a lot of people just not following the rules. I mean.
yeah, and not caring what the consequences are. I was surprised to see the newspaper truck disappear, trailer, but I've noticed also that we've had less and less newspapers.
I haven't
so,
hauled that newspaper away in over 2 years.
yeah, I could tell that.
It just,
So-
nobody gets newsprint anymore, or very little.
So what do you want us to do with our newsprint? Just in our dumps?
Yeah. And that would be one of the things that would be allowed in like a curbside recycling. I mean, paper, you can put in there.
Okay.
Wouldn't be cardboard. I mean, cardboard is a whole separate animal, but, you know, we'll be putting out some literature later this week that, again, explains what items we would be looking at offering as a curbside solution. And then, the things that you can't put in there. So again, it will give you a good idea of, hey, is it, you know, and again, at the 50% that kind of the mark we were looking at, it was $7 and some cents a month. That's pretty reasonable. You probably, with the price of gas, can't even drive to exit 32 for that, where you could just put it in your tote, pull it out curbside. I mean, I think, I'm hopeful that we'll have a high turnout on people that want that. And then we can look at other methods of being able to control the exit 32, or maybe it goes completely, I mean, that might be our option, is it just, if we offer it curbside, do we really need to have a open place? Everybody has the ability to put it in, and again, then that helps us control the recyclables that are coming from outside of our community.
And just let me add a little bit, from a short-term perspective, we are looking at maintaining our yard waste at exit 32. What Rick is talking about long-term, and that long-term could be next year, it really comes back down to the efficiency of operations. Is there a better way of doing business and having something not be abused? Case in point, as you just kind of referenced the cardboard. We initially started off with 4 of those containers that was provided by Kiefer when we had one of our trucks go down here a couple weeks ago, and we just don't have the trucks anymore unless we purchase a new one or a used one, which is a lot of money. It wasn't keeping up, so we added 4 more. And you showed me the picture that you took this weekend, and Rick shared the picture with me this morning. And so we have all 8 of those completely filled up and everything in between and on the back side of it. So that's not sustainable. I mean, that would cost us way more than what we can afford to do it. What that just tells me is that I think the same level of volume has been coming this last week versus it was maybe a couple months ago. But when Rick's been saying that I'd have all my guys go up there, every day, sometimes twice a day, sometimes more than 5 days a week, just to maintain that. There's a lot of hours that goes involved in that, from people hours, but it's also a lot of equipment hours to take in that either mostly to Belle Food, because it was always contaminated most of the time. If it wasn't contaminated, it would go to Rapid City. So again, we're trying to find a way to do operations that doesn't cost as much money, that we can have some efficiencies. And, so that one, we may end up moving up to the Rebel site where we can control access. If somebody's coming from a different community, along the interstate, dropping their stuff off, and it's costing us a lot of money and our taxpayers a lot of money, we'll probably need to move it somewhere else where we can control that access a little bit and maybe help with the education in terms of breaking things down, not taking all the styrofoam and all the packaged material, which sometimes they just stuff into there. And so it has been a problem, and as you can tell, it's become worse of a problem here over the last, just recently. So that one, we may be looking at doing something different relatively soon. But for the yard waste, really no change in the yard waste, at least not at this time. But we have been talking strategically, long-term, as we develop that road going up to the Rebel site. It's going to be, sometime it's paved and it's easier to get up there, better access in and out. At some point, that's probably where we want to have most of our stuff, because that's where our people are. That's what we can control and to manage that more effectively.
Well, and as we move into this contract, it behooves us to talk with our neighbors and get more of us on board.
Absolutely.
I mean, that will help all of us. And is it too soon to anticipate how curbside recycling, do we mix our stuff all together, or will we have separate?
It would be one singular tote.
So it all goes together? Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate what you've done. I mean, we've really tried to make that work up there, but
it's changed. I mean, it's changed over the years. I mean, there was a point in time, where the city bailed and sold our cardboard, and those markets just aren't there anymore. And it gets harder and harder. I mean, at $5 or $6 a gallon diesel, I mean, we can't truck those things to where they need to go to get recycled. I mean, it becomes then a cost instead of being able to sell it and make a little profit. Now it just is 100% cost. And that's why, again, I think regionally, it's not just the city of Sturgis, it's everywhere that's having to make modifications to those services. And I, be honest with you, that exit 32 was a great idea, and it served us well, and it worked. It's quick, it's where we need it to be, but that's also the downside of it. It's right off of the interstate. It's quick and easy for anybody to go to. There's no controls over it, so nobody knows who's are coming or going. I mean, most of the other municipalities that I've spoken to, I mean, just about all of it, you take it to one of their facilities that is manned and staffed. And again, I mean, that one probably wouldn't be as big of a deal if everybody just simply broke down the cardboard. But when you get that and people don't care and we don't have the ability to staff it 24/7, we just have to change. We have to make changes to it. And it's unfortunate, but again, we're not gonna get rid of the service. It's just gonna be a different method to handle it.
So I don't know am I hallucinating, or do we have one less trailer of recyclables than we had before?
Nope.
Were there 3 before?
Nope,
Just
we've only ever had 2. We got those from on a grant. We were one of the first communities in the Black Hills to have recycling trailers, and always have just had the 2.
Well, I use the same side all the time, and I came around the corner and thought, I thought there were 3 of them.
Nope.
I'm hallucinating. Thank you, Rick.
All right, none being seen, do we have a motion to agreement with Kiefer Sanitation on our solid waste services?
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
First by Jim, a second by Terry. All those in favor of the motion, yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried. Moving on to 12.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick, and Kiefer Sanitation, thank you guys very much. Thank you.
And big thank you to Eric. He put a lot of time and effort into it.
All right, 12.4, consider to approve a joint powers agreement between South Dakota Game Fish and Parks and the city of Sturgis.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take this on, but I had Rick stay up there because when we get into the project questions and kind of stuff, he's the expert on that stuff. But I'll just kind of give you the high level piece of this particular project, and I'll turn it over to Rick to kind of articulate a little bit more about the actual project and a timeline and whatnot. But this is basically it's improving the shoreline of Lions Park Pond and kind of stabilizing it a little around where and having some rock kind of juts out into the pond, kind of provides a location for people to want to fish. What I like really about it, it's kind of looking at the south side of the pond and on the sides, because right now the north side kind of butts up pretty darn close to the highway that's going out. And you guys go out there just like I do, you'll see people fishing all the way around that. So this would kind of encourage people to be able to fish on those sides and on the other side of it. Last meeting, we had a gentleman that came up here and talked about, Mayor Forrester, he's had this diagnosis last year, and what made him want to stick around until just weeks before he passed away, before he'd resigned. And there was a lot of things, but this was one of those initiatives that Mayor Forrester started working on when he had that diagnosis. And he reached out to Game Fish and Parks, and kind of reached out to people in our community to be able to make this project a reality. In the last couple of weeks, both Rick and I have met with Game Fish and Parks. We've also met with the builder on this particular project. This builder is basically doing this project at his cost. He has done a lot of trails in the past. That's where he got to know Mayor Forster. He also does these kind of projects. When we met with him here, was it last week, Rick? He was doing this same project down at the Game Fish and Parks campus right there on the edge of Rapid City. He's done projects down in Custer State Park, very similar to exactly what he's going to be doing for this particular location at Lions Park. Game Fish and Parks, they do have a program to be able to help support some of these stuff, so they're pitching in $15,000. We have a donation from somebody in the community that wants to remain nameless. So that comes up about almost about 50% of the project. The total project is not kind of expected to be around 51,000 and a half. And so we'd be looking at the other 26 and a half would be coming out from the city to do this project. So it's a good collaboration between Game Fish and Parks, with the money you have available, donations that we receive from the community and the city to make this a reality. With that, I'll leave it up to you. Any questions you have?
No questions. I'm down at the soccer fields twice a week now with my kid. And I mean, even out of high school, I see kids from high school just go right there and fish right out of high school. So I think this would be great for them. I'll move to approve.
All right, do we have any questions or comments from the public? All right, none being seen.
Rick, would you just do a quick review of the project and what they're going to be doing?
Sure. So, and you did a great job of explaining it. And, you know, this was just one of many projects that Kevin had talked to me and Aaron about. He was always looking for ways to make improvements. I mean, this is anybody that's lived here for very long at all, I mean, as a kid, you know, and that's what he shared with me. Geez, when I was a kid, I came down here. How can we make it better? This was a one part of a bigger picture that we looked at. We were looking at trying to do something all the way from basically all the way up to the soccer fields and make an improvement in that whole section of creek. You know, the thought was maybe we can make something that would have or hold water year round. As we looked at it, it just, you know, anytime we deal with creeks and things like that, and we have the Corps of Engineers and FEMA, it just was obvious that wasn't going to be a reality. So we kind of stepped back and looked at, okay, what can we do? And Lions Club was the shining emerald there that we just needed to polish up. And so these really are about improvements and enhancement. It contains 3 rock piers, which will be, they're the same way if you've ever been down at the entrance of Custer State Park. They have these same, actually Todd built those same piers there. So they're a slate rock. They're real flat and thin. They'll go in there and they'll put some concrete blocks in there, and then those flat slates go out on those, and those will jut out into the Lions Club Park a little bit, providing an area for kids to kind of get out there. And, you know, everybody wants to be in the center of the pond because that's where all the fish live, right? So this just gives an opportunity. Our hopes are that in providing those opportunities on the south side of the pond, that will encourage them to keep away from that narrow strip in between the road. And then also along with that, we're going to do some, it's not really stabilization to the bank as much as it is probably more aesthetic. You know, that the banks aren't eroding away. We get erosion from wind. Wind can cause erosion. You know, a lot of water coming in or out of it can cause erosion. We don't really have that at Lions Club. This is more about appearance and providing, you know, an enhancement to that area. Talking to Todd a little bit earlier on, we talked about maybe the possibility of digging them back a little bit, making, you know, that was one of the things that Mayor Forrester was wanting to do is, geez, can we double the size of it? Well, that would actually be great. And the pond is spring fed, so we wouldn't have a problem. We have to release water out of there daily. It goes over and it goes down into the creek. So this is really just about a project that will provide an enhanced area for the community and largely, I mean, even people, I see a lot of people that come from outside of our community and use that. So going to be a good project. Todd thought he would be able to complete it probably in about 30 days with getting started on it mid-May. So we'll have it done in time. I've been talking with the Lions Club. They're going to hold their annual fishing derby sometime middle of June. So we're confident that we'll have this project done in time for that. And, you know, we always collaborate with the Game Fish and Parks. They like to come and keep that stocked with fish. We're putting together a program, you know, last year, and we used this similar process, this joint powers agreement we used with the Game Fish and Parks last year when we dredged that out. We're working with them to come up with a solution. I feel pretty comfortable and confident where we're at to try and get rid of some of that moss. I was surprised how quick it grew back. But given, I mean, the clarity of the water is what does that. The sun, I mean, it's just like your lawn, you know, when it rains and then the sun comes out, your grass, I mean, that's the same thing that's happened there. It's getting plenty of water, and then the sun is, the water's so clear, the sun can hit the bottom, and that's what causes all that moss to regenerate so quickly. So we've got some chemicals that we've been working with the Game Fish and Parks. They suggested that we put in there, and we're going to try and get some of that moss mitigated out of there. But I mean, honestly, I get a lot of comments from people on wanting to be there, wanting to do things. We have some more park enhancements coming in the future when we do the East Main, East Sherman Street project that will allow for better access to that. So this is just the start of, I think, many projects down there.
Thanks, Rick.
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
Anybody have anything in the public? None being seen, we have a motion and a first by Nick.
Second it.
Second, Mark. All those in favor of the joint powers agreement? Motion, yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That one carries. No need for exec session, if I remember right. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Second.
Alex, Ruth, and Mark. All those in favor of the motion?
Yes.